Hi YouTube. This is a video tutorial of side angle pose and triangle pose. Utthita Parshva Konasana, which is extended side angle, and Utthita Trikonasana, which is extended triangle. Both of these postures show up in the Ashtanga Yoga standing series, and the order in which the triangle postures, because there's also a twisting triangle and a twisting side angle, and the side angle postures show up, is a good way to practice them within a yoga sequence, but I don't think it's the correct order to learn them. And so this video is going to show side angle pose and triangle pose in that order, and then I'll make a video of twisting side angle pose and twisting triangle pose, likely in that order. And then I'll probably have to make a video afterwards demonstrating them within sequence. And well, that's the way it is. So for extended side angle pose, there would be a stepping to the right, and I'm actually going to step to the left so that I face the camera. And many people enter this posture from this side position. And so there was Samastitihi, and then there'd be an inhale as you step outwards. Sometimes people raise the arms out. I'm not going to work like that for this tutorial. In the demonstration, I can show it that way. And I'm going to turn my left foot in and my right foot out. The first thing you want to do here is see that you're, for many people, about heel to heel work. So if I were to take this front leg backwards in space, here I'll step back here, and that way none of this is off camera. So if I were to slide from here, my heels basically line up. And some people will need to be a little bit wider than heel to heel. Some people can pull off heel to inner arch. I often see people end up in kind of positions of heel to toe. And heel to arch, heel to toe really restricts what your hips and pelvis can do. And so I generally fall heel to heel. Some people even benefit from a wider stance. It depends on your body type, your proportions, and ultimately how mobile your hips are. So it was here, Samastitihi, stepping out. Left foot turns in a bit, right foot turns out. Sometimes there has to be a little bit of a shuffle. And then I'm going to bend into my right knee. And so bending into this right knee, technically this would be like a warrior two if my arms were out and looking forward. And so side angle posture kind of has warrior two as a foundation. And I'm going to touch the fingertips together, because when I touch the fingertips together, it sends my elbows out to the side, and then I can use my elbows and my other limbs as reference points. And so side angle posture has a side bend in it, which is lateral flexion. And so I'm going to side bend the spine to the right by bringing my right elbow towards my right knee or thigh. And for some people, this is as deep as the posture needs to go in this side bending, this lateral flexion component. And then I'm going to twist upwards towards the ceiling, which is technically twisting the spine to the left. And so I'm going to twist the abdomen around the navel, and then I'm going to twist the lower ribs, and then I'm going to twist the upper chest. And so I've created the side bend and the twist. And then often when people twist in a side bend, the side bend can go deeper. And ultimately you're aiming to get your right armpit and your right knee to connect. And then that closes the gap here. There's now no more space between my torso and my thigh. That allows me to rest the hand on the floor. Because I've side bent more, I can actually twist again. Belly, chest, collarbone area. And then this left arm can swing up and overhead. And so the main spinal actions of this posture are side bending, lateral flexion, and twisting, axial rotation. The drishti could technically be looking at that left palm. And then I want to create a feeling of my inner thighs moving apart. And so if I turn to this side again, a very common action that you see if you're looking at people practicing yoga, especially as a yoga teacher, is that this front butt sticks out. And as this front butt sticks out, this front knee moves towards the opposite side and it doesn't track properly. And that comes from either a tightness in the inner thigh and or a weakness in the buttocks. And so you want to feel as though the inner thigh is kind of moving forward and the outer thigh is pulling back, or that you're really firming that right butt. Not letting the knee wander. And that happens in triangle pose too. So here, there's the twisting component. In Ashtanga, they have you come straight up. I sometimes like to come a little forward and up. That makes it more of a circle, less linear. And then the opposite. And so the right foot turns in, the left foot turns out. Again, sometimes you need a little shuffle, so I can be about heel to heel. You can always test that if you'd like. This thigh is somewhat turning in. This thigh is turning out, but the feeling is that the inner thighs are moving away from each other, that the groin is opening, and the buttocks is contracting. I could touch elbow to knee. That's the lateral flexion, the side bend. Twist belly, chest, rib cage, collarbone. More side bending, more twisting. Arm can swing up and over. My stance could be slightly longer. And that's the general shape. To exit, I come a little forward. That lets me come to center. And then I can step to the front. So in Ashtanga Yoga, triangle posture is practiced before side angle. And although side angle posture asks more from the spine, it asks less from the legs. And generally people have a little more mobility in their back than they do their hamstrings. And so triangle posture is a very similar pose to side angle posture, but in triangle the hamstring has to lengthen and the inner thigh and groin has to stretch with the legs straight as opposed to bent. And so side angle posture, because the front knee can be bent, it takes the hamstring out of the equation. And many people have very limited mobility in their hamstrings. And often it's because the hamstrings are weak, but that's another topic. And so for triangle posture, it would be a stepping outwards. Again, I'm stepping left, but if you were doing Ashtanga, you'd be stepping right. If you have a teacher who is not strict, they might let you step to either side and you can alternate. And the left foot will turn in, the right foot will turn out. This stance is generally a little shorter than side angle pose. And I'm going to again show from the front. Triangle posture is where this matters even more than side angle. That I do not want to be crossing the feet here. So if my front foot, my right foot was here, and I were to come back, that put my heel in line with I'll call it the base of my big toe, where someone would develop a bunion, where the metatarsals, the long bones of the feet, are meeting the phalanges, the toes. So perhaps a tangent. So I want to be kind of heel to heel. And that actually would be, although the stance is quite long for the triangle pose, this kind of heel to heel thing would be more similar to some sort of like martial arts stance. And that you wouldn't want, if you were doing some sort of style of kickboxing, to have your stance be like that. You're already kind of wound up. You see that their stance is wider apart, and that allows more mobility. They're not going to trip over their own feet. And if there are like kicks to be thrown, it gives you sort of a base from the front. Again, I'm not much of a martial artist, but I like body mechanics. So here's this stance. I want to turn that right thigh outwards. Some people even benefit from beginning with a little bend in this knee. Same idea, there's a lateral flexion, there's a side bend, and then a twist upwards towards the ceiling. If people find that, it's possible that they might be able to straighten the front leg. And for many, this might be their triangle pose, just resting the hand on the shin. It's possible that if the lateral flexion is deep enough, and then a twist, and then a little more lateral flexion, could take hold of the ankle, the floor. Ashtanga has you hold the big toe. I don't really like that stance. I work with my ankle quite a bit, and then I can turn, and this arm could come up. And so the twist is a little more emphasized in this posture than the side bend, but it's still there. And then the same mechanics apply, that if I were to use the other leg as the demonstration leg, and harder to see here perhaps, but if this front thigh is not externally rotating, that knee will point, well, in this case, right towards the dog. And so if I were to bend into that knee without the thigh being engaged or rotating, you can see that that's, and I'm exaggerating a bit, but once I bend the knee, it looks really funky. If I bring it to where it's supposed to be and straighten the leg. And sometimes that's literally just that people don't engage their quadricep muscles, their front thigh muscles. And so right foot could turn in, left foot could turn out. For many, a little bend in the knee can help. Touching, side bending. This might be the perfect triangle pose for most people. As they get lower to the floor, they might not be able to move their spine fully. They might lose their twist. They might go beyond a side bend that is comfortable and safe for them. Or the knee may not fully straighten. So if I'm holding here, but I can't get the knee to go, better to just come up here and open the knee. And then bit by bit, you can sort of work your way down. So if I enter my posture more fully, I have a deep enough side bend and a twist, and then a deep enough side bend, again, it's sort of elbow to knee. That lets me take the hand to the ankle or foot. I can twist my belly and chest. And Utthita Trikonasana. So, and again, in Ashtanga, they would have you hold the big toe. I can touch my big toe, I can certainly hold it, but if I grab it, I feel that it starts to distort my posture a little bit. And this is really a better place for me. A nice bonus of holding the foot is that it's only giving me 2 points of contact with the floor. That means I'm building more balance. And that if my hand was on a block or the floor, that's a third point of contact. And a third point of contact goes quite a long way in terms of making the legs, allowing the legs to work less. And then I could come a little forward. Come up. So if I demonstrate these two postures, just going side to side, and I'll even demonstrate them in what would be closer to the Ashtanga order. In Ashtanga, you do triangle, twisting triangle, side angle, twisting side angle. But I'll just go triangle into side angle, and you can see. And then in a later video, I'll have to do it in Ashtanga order for people that are interested in that. So I can step, left foot turns in, right foot turns out. Side bend, twist. Triangle on my right side. Come a little forward and up. Side bend, twist, side bend, twist. Triangle on my left side. Coming a little forward and up. Maybe a Samasthiti. I'll do side angle from the back. That way you actually see me step to the right. Side bend, twist, side bend, twist. And coming through the center and up. Turning in, turning out. Again, I had to do a little shuffle of the feet, side bend, twist, side bend, twist. Get a full bend in my front knee. Take the top arm, feeling as though the inner thighs are moving away from each other and opening. Buttocks is contracted. Coming through the center and up. And Samasthiti. So there is triangle and side angle. They are very similar postures in what they're asking the spine to do. Again, side angle asks for more side bending, more lateral flexion. Triangle asks for more rotation. And you can see that in the arms, in that if I was standing here and I wanted to rotate, I won't move my hips. I'll just turn my spine, right? So if I had that little spot here, I can turn. This is still in line with my breastbone. But then if I wanted to create what looks like a deeper twist, I could take this shoulder forward in space and the other shoulder backwards in space. And if my arms were out, right, they'd be the triangle arms. If I wanted to create a deeper, or I'll show that to the other side. So here's the twist. This has stayed in line with my breastbone. This shoulder can move backwards. This shoulder can move forwards. That creates a somewhat deeper twist, or at least the illusion of one. That can be debated. If the arms were out, then again. So the arms like this sort of designate if a posture is more of a twisting pose, at least in the standing sense. And then if I wanted to side bend, I could raise one shoulder and drop the other. And I could exaggerate that by taking the arm up and the arm down. And that starts to look like a side bend. Here, I'll bend my knees in case my hand is cut off. But it looks like I'm side bending as I lift a shoulder and drop a shoulder. I haven't really moved my spine yet. So that means that if I were to actually create a bit of a side bend and then drop this bottom shoulder and then lift this shoulder, that makes the side bend look deeper. And I'm just in kind of a horse stance here. And so in side angle pose, this shoulder's down, this shoulder's up, the arm's overhead. This arm overhead is further lengthening this side of the body. This shoulder dropping, you can see that I don't line my hand up with my foot. I reach this arm backwards. That's further creating the side bend, the shortness on this side. So top arm is creating more length, bottom shoulder is creating a little more compression. Versus the triangle posture, that I'm here, right? There's a side bend, and then here's the twist. And so I twist with the arms, and then if I open the arms. So a good way to tell what the emphasis is on the posture. If the arm is reaching up and overhead, maybe it's more of a side bend. If the arms are out to the side and there's more of an emphasis on one shoulder blade spreading and the other shoulder blade pulling back or retracting, might be more of a twist. But both side angle and triangle have elements of side bending and twisting in them. It's just which is emphasized. And again, I like side angle first, sometimes even in practice, but certainly in learning, because you don't have to worry about the hamstring. And generally, if someone's working with the front knee bent, when that knee is bent, more muscles are usually contracting, especially for a beginner. There's some inherent amount of work that has to be done when this knee is bent. Versus if this leg is straight, everything can turn off. I can feel that I could stand here with basically every muscle lax. The calf feels like it has a little bit of tone. But as soon as I bend the knee, the quadricep turns on automatically, and the hamstring turns on automatically. And the calf is more turned on than before. And so for many people, they need to teach their muscles to contract and get stronger first, and then over time, once their muscles know how to contract, their muscles can learn to relax. So, okay, thank you. Namaste.